right, it's AFEX time now. The number of deals transacted on AFEX Commodity Exchange week on week increased by almost 41%. Motola Kongwe is a market data and research analyst with AFEX. Joins us from our Abuja studio with the details of transactions for the week ended the 26th of September. Hi, Motola, good morning. So what happened on the exchange?
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. So across our commodities, we saw a mixed performance across our major indicators. Our total turnover declined by 27.50%, moving from 0.4 billion naira to 0.29 billion naira. Our total volume traded on the exchange also declined by 13.30%, declining from about 1.4 million contracts to 1.21 million contracts. Also, but however, our deals increased. Our number of deals increased by 40.67%, moving from 294 deals to 209 deals to close at 294 deals. Our benchmark indexes, however, remained flat. Our ACI, which is the AFEX Commodity Index, and our AFEX Export Index remained flat week on week. We saw a general decline across volume traded of most of the commodities, except for maize, which increased from 639,253 contracts to close at 1.1 million contracts at the end of trading week. Across our price, we saw an increase in the price of maize. There was a 2.44% increase in the price of maize to close at 210 naira for the week. Also, we saw a decline of 0.02% in the price of ginger, losing 0.18 naira to close the trading week at 1,020 naira 0.46 kobo. For more information about our commodities, kindly visit our website at africaexchange.com, and to join our trading platform, kindly download COMEX by AFEX on Play Store or iOS Store. That's the market summary updates for the week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Omotola, for that details of your transaction. Still staying with AFEX now, we'll talk about the issue of storage. We do know, we've talked a lot about this, storage and preservation of agricultural produce. Well, storage is essential for farmers to keep their produce. How can they design solutions that will deal with the challenges that they currently face in the sector with regards to agriculture? AFEX is interested in this, and we have joining us still from our Abuja studio, the Vice President, Corporate Services, Hemenze Oka, still from our Abuja studio. Good morning, Mr. Oka. Thank you for your time this morning.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so this is obviously a challenge because when we talk about the issue of storage facility and preservation of crops, which is why we see during season of some crops, they are very available and very affordable, and then off season, they're hardly available and very expensive. What is AFEX interest in this?
Well, we're very interested in this because it's a problem that affects all of us. The current situation is quite bad. Figures are hard to actually come by, but people observe that close to 50% of smallholder farmers in this country do not have access to appropriate storage facilities. And in real terms, if you think about it, that means close to 20 million farmers do not have the opportunity to decide when to either consume their goods immediately, store it, or sell it off in the market. And without that power, they're going to leave a lot of money on the table. Because this is actually true value that could be accrued to the farmer, but now is being lost to whether that's infected by insects or rodents or even damaged by water, all as a result of using poor storage facilities. Right now they're using polythene bags or even drums to hold their goods, where the goal for us at AFEX is try and get them to start using more appropriate facilities such as standard warehouses, or even get them to a place of silo, because all this is going to mean more money back on their table, which is going to improve their livelihoods.
Yeah, and obviously improve food available in the country and help us deal with the challenge of food insecurity. And also, on the other hand, deal with post-harvest losses, which in Nigeria has been placed at about 50%. How much impact is this lack of available or proper storage and preservation? How much has it affected food production across the distribution value chain in agriculture in Nigeria?
The effect is quite significant, actually, because it only means that we're going to have to continue to push and try and improve more or produce more. So our population is growing. That means the food demand is continuing to be on an increase. Land is going to be a constraint, very limited resource, as we're well aware. And this just adds more pressure on the production level in the country. But if you actually think about it, we continue to produce, but there are actually leakages that are taking place. And so if we can stop the leakage, you'll have a greater impact. It's like a bucket that you're filling with water that has a hole in it. Would you rather continue to fill that bucket with water or plug the gap? And so that's what we really need to do in this country, is figure out how to plug the gaps of poor storage facilities and stop the leakages that are actually taking place. Here at AFEX, storage is big for us. We have a network of warehouses across the country, and it's a shared service model. So any farmer that wants to take advantage of any price appreciation can bring in their goods to a warehouse. We store it for them for free for the first month, and then they have the ability to pay for longer and take the commodities out and sell whenever they choose to, whenever the price in the market goes up. And this way we can share the value across everybody along the value chain.
Yeah, impressive by AFEX there, even though it's just for a month that they can keep it for free. But what other policies or practices can Nigeria adopt, maybe on a national scale or more from AFEX, that could help in this challenge?
Sure. So financing will continue to be a challenge, and it's always going to be difficult to get funding for these kinds of projects. If you look across the country, a majority of infrastructure is being done by the government or through some sort of DFI enabled project. And it just shows that there's a challenge for the local banks to take this up due to the nature of these loans. It's a capex investment. The tenor doesn't always work, and opens them to a lot of risk. And so what's going to happen is we have to find alternative sources of funding for this, and maybe leverage capital markets, maybe leverage public-private partnerships in order to drive the funding that we need in the sector. But to give investors comfort, you need to be able to guarantee them that their money is actually going to come back to them at the end of the day. So this entails getting clear government policy around this, clear timelines, deliverables, action items, and knowing that the revenue is actually going to come back because the government has the technical capacity, along with the private sector, to execute on these deals.
Yeah, and when we look at all you've said, what does the future look like for investment in infrastructure for Africa?
So I think the future is bright, maybe because of the low point that we're actually starting from, but there's a lot of opportunity that we can take advantage of. So once you invest in infrastructure, you then add value to your commodities as you're able to store them and wait for price appreciation to take place before you sell them off. But by doing that, you then realize the true value in the commodities, and you want to do more infrastructure build. So it's almost like a recurring cycle that's taking place. So down the line, we're going to see more financing coming into this sector. We think more local capital is going to start to flow. There's also going to be other opportunities to actually leverage the assets. So more refinancing opportunities for the warehouse infrastructure that investors can leverage on. And finally, we see this global shift. I mean, it's demand-led, especially by a lot of foreign and European countries, for more sustainable climate-sensitive infrastructure that's being built. And so all of that is just more opportunities for other investors to come into the market. And it's all going to be driven by growth and economic development that we're seeing take place.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that bright future to become a reality. Emense Oka, Vice President, Corporate Services with AFEX. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
We have another market coming up, but after this break.